Leafs fans are absolutely livid at this, as following an absolutely pathetic loss against the Florida Panthers. Fans are not only livid at the loss, but they're livid at some things that came out after the game. We're going to break down exactly what those are, discuss what this means going forward, as well as some other wild updates ahead of Game 6, which is tomorrow night. A ton to go over today. You're going to want to stay tuned here because some of these comments are ridiculous. Some of these updates are ridiculous. And also, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support has been ridiculous. You guys have been absolutely crushing it. Thank you for your continued support. We just hit 18,000 subscribers yesterday. You guys have been unbelievable. If you're part of the 71% who aren't subscribed, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to the big goal of 20,000. The Leafs, very disappointing, but you guys have been absolutely crushing. You guys haven't been disappointing us. So thank you guys very much for your continued support. Unbelievable. There's a ton to go over today. Horrible game last night. If you caught our live stream, it was an interesting game to say the least. But if we put that, we're going to have to put that behind us. But let's not put it behind us quite yet, because we have a lot of comments following the game that are going to, have some impact into next game, what their mindset is. And let's start right here. And we have a ton of comments. At least the players spoke. Chris Tanev, Austin Matthews, and of course Mitch Marner here. Just go over what happened with him. But Chris Tanev, following the Game 5 loss, I'll take responsibility. I need to be better. And obviously, out of all players to come out and say that they're going to take responsibility, has Chris Tanev been great this series? He's been okay. He is not the one who needs to be taking responsibility. It has to be the core four, mainly Matthews and Marner. Craig Berube came out. There were mistakes, a lot of mistakes. And he said it wasn't a good game for anybody. All of us was not a good game. And I'm going to dive into some of the ridiculous comments here from Matthews and all these different things in a minute. I want to get your thoughts on this first, though. Tanev takes responsibility, and Berube basically saying we were absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Tanev's not the guy who should be apologizing here. He's been playing great all season. He's taken the most checks out of anybody in the entire NHL. So, he's doing his job and he's playing hard. He's competing. Are you going to make mistakes? Yes, you're going to make mistakes, but you have to compete. That energy level has to be up. You have to start the game on time. They didn't do that last night. And he's the last guy I'm going to be blaming. Maybe not the last guy, but one of the last guys I would be blaming on this team for what happened last night. So, he's taken accountability all year, and he's continued to do that. The core four has to take responsibility, and not just that, the entire team. They did not respond. Even Berube, and he did take accountability last night and said, we weren't prepared to play. We weren't going. They played a simple game, the Florida Panthers, this is, and they, executed very well, and they ended up winning the hockey game. So the Leafs have to do the same thing. They cannot play scared in Game 6. You have to leave it all out there in Game 6, and you cannot play tentative or scared like they did in the first period. That first period set the tone for the entire game. Bad penalties. They were playing scared. They're playing tentative, and that ruined the entire game.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild. And let's talk about Austin Matthews now. He came out and he said this. Everybody's had to look in the mirror, myself included. Everybody wants to be better. Everybody wants to obviously win. We've been a great road team all season long. There's always going to be a belief in this group. It's going to be our best game, or it's got to be our best game of the year. I wish you would have said what I said, where it's going to be the best game of the year. But I mean, it does have to be your best game of the year. And you've been a great road team. You just got pumped in Florida for 2 games. That's why we're in this situation right now. If there's any silver lining, is that the Toronto Maple Leafs won the first 2 games. They're in a position to where they're not eliminated yet. It's a miracle they aren't eliminated yet after losing 3 straight games to the Florida Panthers. But we still have, of course, Game 6 to go over here. And let's get some comments from the man himself, Mitch Marner. I thought tonight was really the first night that we didn't reply well or play our game. We do that against a team like that over there. They're going to make you pay, and that's what they did. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Is he wrong? No, probably not. This was the first. Last game they didn't play great either. I'd argue that. Last game was maybe a wake-up call. What are your thoughts on these comments from the 2 superstars, in theory, on the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I don't like the comments, and I'll tell you why. Because when you look at Nathan MacKinnon, when he lost a couple years ago in 2021, I believe, he came out after they were eliminated in the press conference, and he said, I've been in the league for 9 years, and I haven't won I haven't won bleep, and I want to, and I'm pissed off about it. And these guys don't seem like they hate to lose. They really don't. The Leafs' best players do not, to me, seem like they hate to lose. And Matthews, in saying that, how many times have we heard Austin Matthews over the years say everyone has to take a look in the mirror, right? We just hear that year in, year out, that everyone has to take a look in the mirror. Did you not have a mirror available before Game 5? Let's take a look in the mirror before Game 5. This was a big game. This was almost a must-win for the Leafs because it's on home ice. This was a great opportunity. And not only did you lose the game, this was the worst game of the series, worst game of the playoffs by a mile. So, they couldn't get going there. This is the same type of quote as the John Tavares learning lessons quote, right? We're not learning lessons anymore. At some point, you have to graduate and you have to take that next step. And they haven't done that yet. And it's frustrating for fans. So they have to do that. They have to get on top of things in Game 6. You cannot play scared in Game 6. Leave it all out there. Some of you might literally not be Toronto Maple Leafs after this next game if you don't leave it all out there. So Do you want it or do you not? They're going to let us know for sure next time. I mean, they've let us know for a long time, but in game 6, they're going to let us know the definite answer. That's for sure. So, again, the Mitch Marner quote, is he wrong? Like you said, maybe not, but I just don't like the quotes for those reasons because we've heard a lot of the same stuff. And when you look around the league at guys who've eventually gotten over the hump and done it, it sounds different.
Yeah, and what could have been with Mikko Rantanen, which I don't want to rub it in too hard, but 8 goals in the last 6 playoff games, and Penner has 7 playoff goals with, of course, a 6-year contract. Make of that what you will. We'll have tons of videos on that if they get eliminated. There still is a decent chance they win Game 6 and they move on to Game 7 on Sunday, so I'm not going to put it behind. However, again, later we'll have a video later today where I'm sure we'll be, once we have some more time for this to digest. Still, it's still pretty fresh here, happening late last night. You can see this here. We're at a point where you can't even bring Mitch Marner back to Toronto if he miraculously begged to come back at a significant discount. That's how livid this fan base will be with the team, or will be if the team doesn't win this series. And I would tend to agree. I'm very curious to see how livid people will be if the Leafs lose this series. Like, they got to round 2, not good enough. This is going to be at least kind of the tipping point here, the tip of the iceberg for this core 4, because Mitch Marner and Matthew Knies, you had to pay both of them. And can they afford to do both if they really try? Will they? Probably not if Mitch Marner continues to play the way he's been playing. And you can see here, not only did the crowd leave early, they threw jerseys, and Austin Matthews jersey on the ice, which we'll dive into now in a minute. I mean, at the end of the day, like, the team played terrible. They gave no reason. Mitch Marner also said to flush this down the toilet, which is pretty hilarious that he said that. And then Chris Tanev says, I'll take responsibility. I need to be better. You have Austin Matthews coming out and saying, we gave the fans no reason to stay for the game, especially with the prices that these tickets are, whether, $5,000 or $6,000 some people are paying to watch that product. Horrible. Like, it's really bad. It's also really bad as a performance out there tonight. We'll dive into a few more things here. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Darius. There was more jerseys thrown on the ice than goals scored tonight. Now, if there is a silver lining here, it's that Nick Robertson's probably going to get back into the lineup. But the silver lining here, and again, we'll probably have a video later today, maybe more positive. At least they got a goal. They got that curse off their back. They got 1 goal. We're celebrating little wins here with 1 goal, but the fans have a right to be upset. And William Nylander, they owned us today. We got to try to do that to them in Florida. You don't have to try. You need to try a lot harder. You need to actually go out and do it. And enough trying, because we've been trying since 2016.
Yeah, I mean, they've been trying since this whole era started, right? They have to go in and get the job done. I mean, with all the lessons this team has learned and everything they've been through, you either get it done or you don't at this point. That's it. And we'll move on from the experiment. And like I brought up that one tweet, or I wanted to bring up that one tweet because, the conversation is very quickly going to turn into what happens next, right? If they do lose on Friday. So, that's going to be there. We're not going to get there yet because this team, and I am a Leafs fan, right? And this team is still in the playoffs and they have an opportunity to win 2 games in a row here. Is it going to be tough? Absolutely. But better, other teams have done it. Worse teams have done it, right? On paper. So go out and do it, right? Try and do it. So we know the conversation is going to turn to that. And I will say, if they do end up losing on Friday, there better be some changes. Like Mitch Marner, you're going to have to look at that. Even Brendan Shanahan, like something has to change because something stinks and it's not passing the smell test at all. So something would have to change if they end up losing on Friday, but they're still in this. They have the opportunity to win. And if we know anything about the Toronto Maple Leafs, watching them in this core 4 era, even a little bit before that, because it wasn't, considered the core 4 in 2016 and 17, they are going to win this game 6. It is going to go to game 7 and they will lose in the most heartbreaking fashion you could possibly imagine. So that is what I'm banking on at this point, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if they do pull it off and win the next 2.
Yeah, win tomorrow and then see what happens from there. Maybe Stolarz. I mean, we're going to have video Stolarz, his return. Like, there's actually a lot of news still coming out surrounding what's actually going to happen in game 6. We'll keep you up to date for, but for now, let us know down below what your thoughts are. If you've lost faith, if you have any faith left, and how livid are you guys with Mitch Marner in particular, but also Austin Matthews, all these different guys, and hopefully no one out there is too mad at Chris Tanev because he was the only one who would take responsibility tonight.